Wizards, the most powerful beings of all Tales of Arcadia. But how did they come to wield such great power, and how have they influenced creation for millennia? Hello everyone, welcome back to Fantasy Tales, where today we're going to be looking at possibly the most powerful faction we will ever cover in Tales of Arcadia. I will have to theorize most of what I'm saying, as we don't get a definitive backstory to the characters within this faction. Not a problem for the all-knowing mind of fantasy. Remember to like, comment and subscribe, and with that out of the way, let's get into it. In the beginning, there was nothing, until a massive burst of energy and light erupted. This energy would form into 4 elements: fire, earth, water, and air. Together, these elements created the known universe. To better interact with their environment, they transitioned from massive titan forms to much smaller and weaker versions of themselves. These elements would be the first wizards. At some point, the 4th element would disappear, leaving only 3 to remain on their favored world, Earth. Over time, the fauna of the world would develop into many races, not so dissimilar from the ones we know today, but also another race, more magically gifted than the others. They were known as trolls. For centuries, trolls and the developing human societies would live in peace. Eventually, the war erupted between the two and became bitter rivals. During this time of strife, a human would emerge with extraordinary magical powers over the flow of time. His name would be Merlin. Merlin would make a name for himself across England, and it would be at this time Merlin would meet and face the Arcane Order. These two forces of magic would develop a rivalry over the years, Merlin fighting for humanity, and the Arcane Order fighting for balance. No human would embody a hatred of magic more than Arthur Pendragon. When he was little, Nari, Wizard of the Earth, would interact with the life around her in the forests of Killahead, very close to Arthur's home. One day, when she was in the forest, she encountered 3 children, Morgana, Arthur, and their friend Gwendolyn. Though the other 2 were enraptured by her unique look, Arthur was frightened and threatened her to back away. This hostility to them would only fuel the other 2 wizards into taking initiative to restore balance by whatever means necessary. Morgana would remember this interaction and would take visits to this forest with Gwen, while Arthur would grow up to be a ruler of his people, and in this time, he would meet Merlin. Together they would go on many adventures, and on one of them, they ventured to the Lady of the Lake, to get a powerful weapon for Arthur to unite the human kingdoms to face the threat of Gunmar. Due to Arthur's distaste for magic, him and Merlin turned on her and locked her in the cave from whence she could not return from after they got the weapon they sought. When Arthur returned, he used the weapon, called Excalibur, to unite the human kingdoms and create the fortress keep of Camelot. He would soon learn of Morgana's trips to the forest and her growing magical power, so he had to learn under Merlin to control her magic. He then passed a law. Should anyone possess the talent of using magic, they were to be executed. Many would be executed by his blade, but some would be saved by Merlin to become his apprentices. Merlin and Morgana would butt heads at many times in her training because of the discrimination to their kind. While Merlin agreed, he would not raise a sword at Arthur for his actions. At the same time, Merlin would come by a youth using magic to con and trick people. And when he was caught for such actions, Merlin stepped in and offered the youth a choice.
Merlin, Ambrosius, thank you. I owe you my life.
And what sort of life would that be? Have you ever asked yourself that? Your ruse with the smoke spell was rather clever.
Really?
No, but it was real magic. Come, you could use a hot meal, and I could use a new apprentice. What?
This youth, named Duxie, would be the new apprentice of Merlin, and far easier to deal with due to his younger age. Still, he always found a way to mess up or slack on his job, but progress was made, and he helped Duxie master many basic spells that will prove more useful in the future. Now this is where the story gets a bit tricky. In Wizards it shows how Morgana became how she is in the future, but to be honest it doesn't make a lot of sense, and you'll get what I mean if you've actually watched the show. So for the purposes of this video, I will be making my own assumption on how she became evil in the original timeline. Morgana would become detached from her brother and master. She always had different views and ideals to them. The only person who understood her was Gwendolyn, now betrothed to Arthur. Over the course of her training, Gwen would be the only one to show her any kind of kindness and infatuation with magic as she did. Regularly, they would take visits to the forest of their youth, but on this occasion, it was Gwen leading Morgana out the door, and she would run ahead of Morgana and stumble into a stalkling's nest.
But that night, it was Gwen pulling me out of the door. We'd stumbled into a stalkling nest. I was afraid.
This would be the tipping point for Morgana. The only person she ever cared about was gone because of her. This realization would send her insane, and in this shaken state, she would be approached with an interesting proposition. It wasn't your fault. We can give you the vengeance you want, but you must serve us. What must I do?
You will be the Eldritch Queen, mother of monsters. You will be the instrument of our reckoning. I accept this gift.
With the pact made, she made her way to Gunmar and offered her service to his cause. She gave him her new creations, the changelings, enchanted his blade, and promised to bring about an eternal night. Now, the Arcane Order weren't helping because it was the nice thing to do, but because Gunmar had united his faction in the goal of destroying humanity. Should he succeed, magic will once again rule and be free. Sometime after discovering this, Merlin would fight Morgana and she would lose her arm. He then would create the Amulet of Daylight through the power of his staff, Duxie's powers, a moon crystal, and the severed hand of Morgana. Finally, at Killerhead Bridge, at the moment of casting, Morgana would be interrupted by the rally Good Trolls, Camelot, and Merlin. The two would engage in an epic fight, Morgana keeping up and outmatching Merlin thanks to powers given to her by the Arcane Order. In the end, Gunmar would be banished, Merlin realizing Morgana had to be stopped and summoned all of his magic in order to banish her. Yet the fight would continue. Just before the battle, Morgana was approached by someone she would torment for years to come.
I call you forth, Argante, Lady Pale,
Yaga, Eldritch Queen.
I have many names.
I come to trade. Gunmar's war for the surface lands has ravaged my village. I need the power to protect my people.
You seek magic, but what do you bring in return?
Here, my offering, carved from my own living stone. Yes, I can feel it. It is so. It is so. My soul, you lied to me.
You fool. Your flesh is worth nothing.
What have you done to me? Inside, I'm so empty.
I gave you what you wanted. Now your soul is mine. You will seek Merlin's champions and bring death to his troll hunters.
The Arcane Order were furious at this turn of events. They were no closer to their goal than they had when they had started. Instead of working through pawns, they would attempt many times throughout history to eradicate humanity and establish balance through the Genesis seals, a topic for the next episode. The champions of Morgana and Merlin would fight throughout the centuries to come. Angor, her champion, being trapped and bound to one of her dark temples, and the changelings establishing the Janus Order and worked to free Gunmar and their Pale Lady. The Troll Hunters would protect the citizens of Trollmarket and all trolls from mortal and magical threats to varying levels of success. Duxie, surviving the battle, would carry on to master his powers and be the secret protector of the world from smaller threats. Nothing would come of their battle until the events of current day. Merlin would foresee a future where Gunmar was defeated and Morgana banished, yet it could only happen with a surprising new champion. The amulet for centuries had passed from troll to troll, but would now pass to a human. This human was Jim Lake Jr. Only with a human troll hunter could Merlin find true victory, and he was proven right. Time and time again, Jim demonstrated his capability of being a hero and hindering the forces of evil. Morgana did not sit back and watch. She had her agents in the Janus Order awaken Angoroth to kill Jim, where he ultimately failed in his mission, but it drove Jim to go to the Darklands, which would lead to Gunmar and eventually her freedom as well. The plan was a success, and when Gunmar invaded Trollmarket, Claire, the user of her Shadow Staff, summoned a massive dark portal, and unbeknownst to her, a piece of Morgana's soul whisked its way into her soul. In the weeks after, Morgana would use Claire's body to retrieve Angor's head and interact with the physical world. This would be discovered when Morgana, in Claire's guise, tried to kill Jim. She failed, and he attempted to help Claire by travelling to the Shadow Realm, the domain of Morgana. Jim and Toby would go in to retrieve her soul, which had been travelling there whenever Morgana took control. Strickler, a former changeling, and Blinky would remain behind to hold the portal open. Morgana would insult Blinky, and he would storm off to find a gag, leaving Strickler all alone.
Now it's just you and me.
She attempted to turn Strickler to her side until being interrupted by blinking. She would then put matters into her own hands and tried to free herself by flinging the staff into the Shadow Realm. Strickler attempted to kill her in order to free Claire. Claire herself was found, and the trio made their way to the portal and saw the staff and tried to claim it. Each time it was flung away by Morgana, trying to keep them there. Yet something amazing happened. Claire, under Morgana's control, was able to glimpse Morgana's memories, and one word stuck out the most. She used this word to summon the staff to her and went through an epic battle of wills with Morgana, where she eventually won. Though she had lost a vital asset, Claire had accomplished her mission in the background, where she had been leading Gunmar to her temple to resurrect Angor. Angor was used to guide Gunmar to Merlin's tomb and retrieve his staff and finally set her free. Gunmar was successful, and when he returned, she revealed her location to him so he could free her. Merlin wasn't just sitting back either, and after fending off the goblin horde, Jim received a vision of Merlin's tomb through Claire, its coordinates etched within an amulet, and they were forced to make a decision. Jim and his team made their way to Merlin's tomb and faced Gunmar, but lost a friend in the process. Though they had lost the staff, they did find something else. Merlin's tomb, and with the power of the amulet, they awakened him. The interactions between Merlin and Jim's team was mixed at best. Eventually, especially when he revealed he only cared about killing Morgana and not Gunmar. Gunmar had failed to free Morgana, as only a human could, so he dispatched his forces to find a changeling who could free Morgana. Gunmar succeeded and she was freed. Merlin felt her release through the earth and quickly sprang into action. Jim, his champion like no other, was not strong enough to face the might of Gunmar, Angorot and Morgana, so he was forced to make a decision that would test Jim's commitment to this world.
What purpose? To turn you into a troll.
You want to turn me into a troll?
Actually, half troll. Consider this recipe my way of evening the odds.
I'm not drinking that.
Oh, you won't be consuming it. If this old man could overpower you, what do you think Gunmar or Angorot will do? You must pour the elixir into water, submerge yourself in said water, and presto, you will be born anew.
But why me?
Your heart. I once had a heart as pure as yours, I believe. In my rest, I saw a way to finally end this stalemate. To win this war, I must have a champion with a foot in both worlds.
I thought you said I had a choice.
You do. The amulet chose you to become the first human troll hunter, but you were never destined to remain so. To protect the world you love, to be the champion for both humans and trolls, you need to be more than human. You need to become both troll and hunter.
How long would I be like this?
Alas, there is no going back. Part of you will remain Jin, but the other part will never be the same. If you really want to save your mother, your friends, this world you call home...
You're asking me to leave it all behind?
James, I know this is the greatest call anyone has ever asked of you.
You untied me.
I never tied you. I was opening your eyes. I said the choice was yours. And there it lies. This is their choice.
It took some getting used to, but Jim adjusted to his new form. The time of the eternal night was finally at hand, and Jim fought in the Battle of Arcadia, holding back the hordes of Gum-Gums with an army of his own. Merlin and Jim's friend Arg would make their way to Trollmarket to kill Morgana, but she expected their arrival and beat the crap out of Merlin. Arg, though, escaped and used his connection to the forge in Trollmarket to summon the ghosts of past troll hunters to fight once more. They held Morgana long enough for Jim to deal the lasting blow to Gunnar, but not long enough, as Morgana arrived on scene to show a mockery of Jim's abilities, revealing why she hated his kind. Yet his team briefly held her off until they too fell. At last she could deal the vengeance against another of Merlin's pawns, while Angol arrived on the scene. He announced to her that he had broken free and now fought to defeat her once and for all, and help Jim deal the blow. But this didn't stop her, and Angor was blown to smithereens. It was up to Claire to finally banish her to the realm of shadow, only just escaping and locking Morgana forever in the shadow realm. With her banishment, Merlin's abilities were fully restored, and he reversed the effects of the Eternal Night, rebuilt Jim's blade, and walked off into the shadows to start a new beginning with the trolls. That's it for the Law of the Wizards. Stay tuned for part 2, and may the glory of Merlin be with you always.